think Trump will be successful? Well, I guess it depends on how you define success. A lot of people say that Obama was successful, that he was a good president. And then other people say he was the worst of all. I don't know. I'm not qualified to speak to that. I have my little life, and everything that the president does is important to me. Obamacare was important to me, but it was more important of what I did. And we can all involute and convolute what the president does with our personal lives. That's why we have words like journalism and history. Journalism is supposed to be where you report what happens, and history is supposed to be where a really smart person sits and looks at documents and facts and things that he knows and gives a story. So let me just give a short narrative about what I think has happened for the last 16 years and where we're going. Because in my view, prior to the 16 years, we had the Soviet Union as our boogabear, and we had a great enemy, and we had an industry surrounding that, the war industry, and nobody really questioned it too much. We spent all this money, and quite frankly, the reason we have a deficit, there's only a one-word answer: defense. We're spending money on defense. If we'd have spent that money on social welfare, we wouldn't have a deficit. It's defense. It's the Defense Department. It's this war with Russia. These wars are why we have a deficit. It's no more complicated than that. Okay, so let's keep going. 2000 comes around. This whole story about terrorism is not selling. It's not good enough. So then when 9/11 happened, for some reason they had a plan exactly for what they're doing. I don't know. They just were so lucky that these terrorists pulled this off, and they had a plan ready. They had a plan to come down on the American people with the Patriot Act to take away some of our rights, some of our abilities to speak. I haven't personally witnessed any of that myself. It hasn't affected me. But the other part of it that did affect me was we started a war. We were told that the terrorists were from Saudi Arabia, so now we need to attack Afghanistan because Saudi Arabia attacked us. And we went into Afghanistan, and all of us felt better because we killed those rag-headed son of a bitches. And we all felt great. And now, it's 16 years later, and we've attacked like 7 or 8 countries, and we've spent $6 or $7 trillion to do that. And we had one guy who was a relative of the people who were there, a close relative of the people who set up the Federal Reserve, a relative of the people involved in the oil business, a relative of these people, a direct relative whose father was a president, whose grandfather was a powerful senator, who was involved and had a personal stake in it. And he was an inarticulate guy. Might have been really smart, but he wasn't articulate. And he led us into this. And about half the people were really pissed off about what happened. So along comes this guy who looks totally different, who's handsome. And we all fell for him. And he was going to be different. He came in, was going to win the Peace Prize. He was going to bring peace. But what did he do? He attacked 5 more countries. And they overthrew a bunch of other countries, like in the Ukraine. That wasn't, they didn't actually have a war. But American interest went in there, and corporate interest went into the Ukraine and overthrew an elected government. And now, 16 years on after this incident, since the turn of the century, we have a president who yesterday said that Putin's not with us. And looks like they want to start World War III against Iran, China, and Russia. And we all know that that ain't going to work. We all know that that's the most stupid, ludicrous thing you've ever heard of. And the person who was supporting that, named Hillary Rodham Clinton, lost. Thank God. Thank God. And if my liberal friends haven't figured this out, of how dangerous this was, I can't tell you. I can't say anything else. Now, we finally have someone who is not connected to any of this, who's just going to simply look at the situation and look at the generals and say, what's in it for us? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are the American people getting a deficit on top of deficit to do this? What's in our interest? Rather than one guy who just did whatever he was told because all he wanted to do was play golf and go on vacation and look smart, and another guy who was profiting from it, and who that was his family. That was his family. So they had other interests. We have a guy whose interest is to fix it. And I don't, now, Mr. Trump, I know a lady from Philadelphia. She said personally she knew about what happened in New Jersey. He has fucked stuff up, so I hope that he don't fuck this up. I mean, that's a possibility, but at least we have a person who honestly wants to do it, who's not being led around by other people, and he's got at least 5 people in the administration that want to fix it. They don't want all these old people on disability, all these old people on Medicare, and all these old people on Social Security that are totally screwed up, whose life's terrible. They're not just throwing them out to the wolves. They don't want to do that. And he's also said that he wants to fix the inner cities, that he wants to do something. So if he does that, as Tim Black said on his program, on a progressive, the whole politics could turn around. So I think he will be successful. I don't think that he went through all this and has all these kind of brainiac people on his side, and he's not going to do it, because this is not that bad. All we need to do is just quit throwing money down a rat hole in wars that are never going to work, and trying to start wars with people that can destroy the whole world 10 times over. This is ridiculous. So let's just see what happens and how it goes. Out.